This time what we're going to aim for is a night base. So what I mean by that is a base suitable for night time, which as you can imagine can seem somewhat dull, because the best way to do that is basically to paint everything black. However, there is a way of making it a little bit more interesting. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a piece of slate and gluing the slate onto the base. Now this piece I've got is actually very flat on this side. If you've got a piece of slate that isn't very flat, it obviously won't have much of a contact when it comes to applying the glue. So what I would suggest, if that was the case, is to make up some green stuff, put the green stuff on the bottom of your slate, and then you have to push it down very hard onto your base. The green stuff itself, because it's sticky, should hold the two pieces together. However, if it does come apart in time, you can put a bit of super glue on it, and because you've got a good shape with the way the green stuff is attached to the slate, it will therefore give you a good contact. Next, I've got a group of arms. Some of these are actually from the Imperial Guard catacombs. That one there's from a Gaul. Doesn't really matter too much. Obviously, if you're doing something which is fantasy, then you don't want something that looks futuristic, but all we want to do with these is to cut a few of them off. Once you've made the cut, remember, because of the snips, it cuts it like that. So you want to flatten the area off just to give you a bit of better surface contact. And then this time, instead of the super glue like we did with the slate, this time we're going to choose our plastic glue and glue some of these arms onto the base. For the sake of a little bit of extra detail, I've also glued a skull in on this side. Now we need to leave it to dry, and then we can start painting it. We've started off with a black undercoat. Next we're using celestial grey. Next we're using Corax white, and we're going to use this to pick out the edges on the rock. As you can see how the light reflects off it and gives it white areas, but basically we're going to paint some of those white areas in. notice I'm being quite light with the brush, and I might want to apply several coats to let it slowly build up, because I still want the rock to primarily look black. I just want to give it this colour to make it look like the light from the moon is hitting the rock. Next, for the white, I'm going to use a little bit of white scar just to pick out some of the front edges on this side. We're doing this because this particular white is a little bit brighter than the other one. Right, if you can paint this white on the inside of the other white, that would be the best option. Because that way it gives you more texture, because you're going to start with the black and then there's a colour which is between the black and the white, and then you've got the pure white at the end. You can see here what I'm saying. You've got the original white, and then you've got the white we've just applied. And like I said, I've only put it on this front side, so I'm presuming the moon's hitting it from this side, which is why this side it's brighter. Next, we're using this colour to cover the areas which before we painted grey. And once we've covered them all, we need to give it time to dry. Next, I'm going to make a 50-50 mix just to thin down this wash, or shade as it's called here. And this colour is just applied to the green areas, just to give a bit of depth of colour. I'm not going to add any highlights to the green, but for the last colour, now the green paint's dried, you want to go around the bottom of the base, just clean up any of the messy areas with some black paint. Bottom of the base with PVA glue. And now it's time for the static grass. Now all the PVA glue's been covered all over the base. Remember though, although I've chose to have some ghostly hands coming out the base, there's certainly other options you could choose. Maybe, for example, you could have a horse coming out of the base, or some zombies, or maybe skeletons rising out of the ground. So there's certainly some options of what you can do to be creative. However, at this point, once this static grass is dry, it's ready now for me to put a miniature onto the top of the rock here, and it's finished.